Greetings from Las Vegas. It is windy, but it is not really that cold. Howdy from Las Vegas. It's your girl Buddha in the Crucible. Today I'm going to talk about some crazy stuff. Being a racist whisperer, my history, interacting with people, mainly males, who are normally racist, but for whatever reason have written me a waiver. Usually, in the past, it's been because either with cars, because I used to work on cars, so every now and then you'd meet somebody that way, or through the military, and then working with horses. I've had my share of exposure to small kind of rural towns where, everybody is mostly one shade and it tends to be the lighter shade. So anyway, while I'm talking also, as if that wasn't enough, I'm going to put on this mask. It's a black charcoal mask from FBL. That's not a promo. I'm just letting you know what I'm using while I'm talking to you. So anyway, here's what it looks like. I won't even ask you to forgive the quality of this video because right, we're a Buddha on a budget. So right, well, thanks for watching, and the content quality, surely that will make up for the visual. So anyway, I'm gonna put this on while I'm talking to you. So what was I saying about that? Shake it, 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 shake it. So I have a history of starting from, I guess, right, like it pretty much started in the military, where I met there was somebody that I worked with, and it doesn't matter, we'll keep everything anonymous, obviously, but it was somebody that I worked with on the base, and he, I was stationed in the South, and that was the first time, I was meeting people who were culturally Southern and living in a place where, trucks with the Confederate flag flying real huge was like not such an unusual thing. I'm not saying that there was like every other car, but the people there didn't see that as like shocking or daunting or whatever. It wasn't considered fully inappropriate at the time, because this is back in this is back in the early 2000s. So things have changed quite a bit, and some things have kind of reverted back over the years now that it's 2018 here in the States. So anyway, I should probably put this on too. But I wanted to get the preface out of the first story. So anyway, this guy, he was from Alabama, and yeah, he was a white guy, and I had never really met anybody from the South. I was coming from the Northeast, and so for me it was a bit of a culture shock. I'm not saying I was naive to racism, but I definitely had a different perception, I think, of it. But for me it was like something out of a movie, the way some people were acting, like this very stereotypical racism that I hadn't known, like directed at me, or I guess discussed or embraced around me as kind of more of a commonplace thing. So anyway, this guy, he was in our military as well, and he's a white guy from Alabama, and he was known to be like a jokester, in the workplace. He would always be someone who wanted to tell inappropriate jokes. One of many. Like, we can't even open the lid on that junk. So, anyway, he would always be making inappropriate jokes related to race, sex. This was back when looking up things like Rotten.com, the guys that I worked with, because I was basically like a diesel mechanic for my rate, was more or less, that's what you did related to ground support. It has a really fancy name, but we won't get into that. But it's not important. So anyway, so we were basically a form of mechanics. Um, and so, right, I was working with other guys who were coming from country boy towns that had come from working on tractors and farm equipment and stuff like that. So these were mostly, well, we'll say a lot. We had a solid percentage of mostly white Southern farm boys or Southern boys, country boys. I'm not saying any of that, and my intent is not to be derogatory. So this is what they were self-proclaimed. This is what they were proud to be. Okay, cool, whatever. We're all coming from different places to work in this space. We're all bringing our baggage on top of that. So anyway, at the time, things like inappropriate jokes to the extreme were not. You were considered a crybaby. If you were to complain about something like that, it would only end up making things worse for you. It was better to just, at the time, for the sake of survival or getting along in the workplace, at the time, the vibe amongst the people, my perception was that, if you couldn't stomach it or you had a problem with it, it wasn't going to make it easier for you by complaining or telling your superior or whoever. So anyway, so basically, I'm saying that whenever people got to telling those jokes, you either didn't participate or you did, but you didn't. Nobody complained. Usually, I'm not saying no one ever did, but typically, that was the way people seemed to handle it, as I remember. So. It wasn't unusual. Him amongst a group of other people and other military personnel that were a little more openly racist. So they would gang in on the jokes, whatever. And for this particular guy, at the end, he would throw out some disclaimers that, he jokes on everybody, and, everybody gets, he knows a rude joke about everybody and everything, and that it's just in fun and this kind of stuff. But we're talking like porch monkey jokes, rape jokes, gay joke, like just wherever you could take a shot, but the low hanging fruit, if you will. And I'm not saying it from my perspective, but the stuff that I guess people, I get the impression that they feel like it's easy to joke about, because they think that most of the group is going to cheer it on a bandwagon. So anyway, this was kind of commonplace in the workplace. The guys were doing all kinds of inappropriate things to each other. They had all these bizarre games that they would play with each other. We did have our share of predators. I don't know if I'll ever make a video about that, because it's just, even now, I wouldn't want people coming after me for me trying to speak about whatever drama I felt like ensued. So anyway, back to this guy. So he was okay and playful, but his jokes were completely inappropriate, and rude and offensive to, whoever. But again, the culture in that, at least that portion of the military, was, if you complained, then you would end up ostracized, or crybaby, or they would assign you to do something you didn't want to do, whatever. So my point is that he would get away with it, like everyone, because it was the norm, kind of. And so you would, okay, just a country white boy from the South. He's got his little racist jokes, but he says it's all in good fun, whatever. So a lot of the people in this, I'm going to use the wrong word for my branch just to keep it very anonymous and say unit, because that's not what we called it. So for our unit, a lot of the people like to throw barbecues and get-togethers, and basically set the stage for a lot of gray area stuff that would go on once everybody had enough alcohol or whatever. So, these barbecues, get-togethers, he was a real big fan of that he liked to hang out and drink. You know, he was from a small town, so I guess it wasn't so unusual to, like, you know, you work with the people all day, and then you get off work and you go shit, shower, shave, do that, shower, shave, and go out, and then you barbecue and you eat together and you drink together and more together. So because and we're not stationed somewhere remote. Like, my point, although we were in a place where it was a majority military population, my point is that, like, it wasn't impossible to be friends with people outside of your unit, but you know, there was enough of a group in the unit that just they like to do everything together. So they'd have these barbecues almost every weekend. It was for something, which, you know, on the surface, right, that's nice. You know, camaraderie and morale and all that good stuff, on the surface. So anyway, I was like, gosh, I was super young. I was 17 even when I signed over, and then to my branch, and I'm just trying to think, like, what age I must have been by the time I was stationed at this place. But I must have been, I was at least, by the time this happened, I was at least 21, I think. So, anyway, timeline. Anyway, so we went to one of these, barbecues. You know, I still had to stay on the base, because at the time, I don't know what it's like now, but at the time, you know, certain regulations before you could get your BAH and all that kind of stuff. So I was still staying on the base, and I think he was too, because I don't know how long we had been there, but you had to wait. I don't remember exactly, but the point is we were both still dorming it on the base, more or less. So, so we went to this barbecue or whatever, and then we didn't go together, but again, we work together, and the people who are there, people we work with, and at the time, you know, like, if you were fairly new, they would tell you things like, oh, you know, you want to come to these barbecues. I mean, you know, we're a family, and you know, we protect one another, and you know, you don't want to seem like you don't want to hang out, do you? I mean, you want to hang out, right? Like, that's this kind of vibe. So, you know, they kind of pressure you to go or encourage you to go, and act like, you know, it's kind of weird if you don't go at the time, depending on who you were, I guess, especially fresh meat. So we were at somebody's barbecue, and I was leaving. I had my own car, and I don't know why he hadn't driven, but he was like, everyone knew he liked to pile it on at the barbecues or whatever, drinking, and that wasn't unusual either, because you know, everybody drank, like, a lot. So but you know, there were certain people that were known to get beyond slosh, to the point where, like, they couldn't walk, or they were throwing up or whatever. You know, I'm not judging. I'm just saying they like to push the limit every time. So he liked to get really sloshed or whatever. So he got sloshed, I believe, and because it's not a terribly important detail, but he, for whatever reason, I guess he came with one person. I don't know how he got there, but he wanted a ride home, like, well, back to the base. And he's like, you know, kind of tipsy, as I remember, but you know, we both having a good time. And he was like, oh, you know, let's go back. Are you going back to the base? So he had never been directly rude to me, like, to my face. But you know, I knew that he had those kind of jokes. But again, you know, he had friends who were people of color that, you know, he would just always say, oh, you know, I'm joking, joke, joke, jokey, joke, joke, joke. So so I'm like, oh, well, whatever. Like, I'm not gonna go out of my way to be mean at this point early in the game. And so we're headed back to the base. So as we're driving, I think this was as we were driving back, or well, maybe we were back at the barbecue. Either way, the point is we had this conversation that he's slosh, but he's in my face, and he's like, oh, you know, I just think the color of your skin is so pretty, and you know, just this kind of, you know, just kind of going this direction. And I'm like, didn't you just get a tattoo of the Confederate flag on your leg? Which he had a new tattoo. It was a big Confederate flag, like on his calf or whatever here. And oh, maybe I shouldn't be. That's like a defining detail, huh? Well, I'm sure by now there's probably a whole new wave of people who have gotten that done recently, so it's all good. Anyway, so he had this big Confederate flag on his leg as a tattoo, and I'm like, right, like I just blurred that out. I'm like, dude, what a your leg has a racism on it. But right, he goes into this thing to say that it heritage. That was the first time. This is a long time ago. So that was the first time I heard someone use that as an excuse, like to my face. And back then, right, at the times weren't, or maybe because of social media, we're just more aware of it. But it wasn't nearly so. Life wasn't so nearly so politically charged as it is in the times right now. This was over a decade ago. Tell me my age. So anyway, so he goes into this spiel about it being heritage, and because don't forget he's from Alabama, and like from some little town, population like 500 people, 70% cousins. That's really, sorry, no, I don't want to go that far, but I can't put it past him. So anyway, he was just saying like, oh, it's heritage and that's cultural, to be honest with you, like I come from a town that's so small, and we don't there's no people of color. He didn't use that word, but there's no people of color there. And I only saw like what I saw of people of color are only on like TV and stuff, and it's a little farm town, and people just, they don't know any better. But when I came to the military, I started meeting people, and I realized that my face is bare because we're supposed to be putting this on. So his, just this direction of excuses for his town and his tattoo and just, whatever. So I'm listening to him, and great, mind you, I've had a couple of drinks as well, but I'm like, so what are you saying? You're so what's the word, redeemed, that, and you renounce racism, but you're gonna make sure you get that Confederate flag tattoo recently because it's brand new. And he's like, well, I told you it's still heritage, but it doesn't mean that for me. Just whatever people have to say about that kind of stuff. And I'm, like, I don't remember if we were driving back yet or not, but I was just like, yeah, like, whatever. And he wasn't ugly. Like, he was cute. He was a cute guy. Don't get me wrong. He was cute. But, he was clearly, like, suffering and unhappy and kind of just now finding out about the world. And I was coming from a major city. I'm from Philadelphia. So we're both, like, we may as well be from other planets, because I can't say I never encountered racism, because I'm racially ambiguous, so there are pockets of my family that are apparently openly racist, but they were never that way to me. Like, they never said anything racist to my face, but I was a little girl, so I guess, and I don't know if this is compassionate or naive or stupid or both or all. But I just kind of feel like at least they had the decency to feel like I was a kid, and that they didn't need to pick on me. They were just, these family members were just kind of, I would say, indifferent a lot of the time. And I don't even know how they feel about life now. So, and one of them is on his way out. So it's like, I mean, you be as evil and hateful as you need to be, but never to my face. And they made me pancakes and stuff. Like that's what I'm saying. Like, they weren't hateful to me, but I know they said hateful things, and I know they did hateful things, but they were never hateful to me. Like, in my family, they didn't necessarily dote or be like not affectionate, but they weren't mean to my face. Me. So anyway, So that was kind of like, and at the time I wasn't even familiar fully with that, with those feelings from those family members. So I can't even say that. What I'm trying to paint the picture of is that I that might have been brewing, but I still wasn't aware of racism like in my life. In my life, whoever was racist kept it to themselves. If they mistreated me because they were racist, I didn't know that was why they were being that way. So anyway, so this guy, he's like launching into this thing, and he's like, at the time he's like, you're so pretty, and I think you're really pretty, and I like you, and I like, when we talk, and blah, 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 blah. And I'm just like, all I can do is stare at his leg, like, are you sure? Does 3/4 of you feel that way, but your leg is still racist? Like, that's the last part of it, to renounce, this cultural belief, this heritage, I I just I was like, I mean, okay, whatever. Because it just sounds like, and I wasn't mature enough to make this statement at the time, but looking back on it, I would just say, right, like, it seems like you're still you're conflicted with, like, error. I have a crush on a woman of color, but I'm supposed to be racist. Error. Does not compute. Oh, but your member still works. So I guess your member and the alcohol, I don't know if they were leading the way, that he felt like he was finally going to say something with this Confederate flag on his leg. And I'm like, well, we work together and stuff. So, right, like, not that there couldn't be a waiver written for that. But, at the time, I was just like, okay, yeah, this is weird and you're drunk, so bye. And we were friends, and we never did anything. Well, I should say we were friendly. But that was like kind of the gateway to a string of guys that I would either find out later on were racist, or saying derogatory comments and things like that, or just, being totally different with other people than they were being with me. And just, I won't even act like I handled it in like some really woke way, because I didn't. I will admit that I let whatever Becky card waiver they were writing for me, right, there were absolutely times I used it to my advantage at the expense of other people, knowing that this person was doing that based on their kind of low-key racism. And my ego and insecurity at the time definitely made me okay with racist people being my friend, knowing that they were, terrorizing the land once they walked away from me. So I was, right, and I'm not proud of it now. Like, that was a really crappy mindset, and it wasn't right, and I'm not right. So anyway, I'm trying to think like who would be like a relevant story, but there were enough of them. Just throughout the course of my life, and later on when I got out of the military, I moved on to cars, and I was meeting a lot of different people, either on the internet or just through the ropes. And I was working with mostly guys. Obviously, it was cars, but I won't lie. Some of them, you knew they were trying to, sleep with you, or they kind of like had a crush on you and stuff like that, and that's why they were just kind of doing anything to get an in. Oh yeah, sure, like, act like you're gonna let her help you work on the cars. Yeah, and then right, we can, once she's there, like, we can probably get something to pop off. And, you know, sometimes I would know that that was the intent, but I knew I was going to either get A, B, C, D done with my car or whatever I was going there to get done. And, right, if I didn't already want to sleep with somebody, I didn't. Like, they never coerced me into sleeping with them for parts or paint jobs. And maybe I could have gotten a lot better race cars done if I had been open to that, but that's not the way it went for me. I'm not gonna say I never slept with car guys. There were ones that I really liked and did, and that was my prerogative. But as far as, you know, going over there under the guise of, you know, thinking we're gonna work on cars when it's really something a little more sinister, um, it's not like I wasn't naive to that. It's just that it just was gauging whether or not I wanted to take the risk of going there knowing that this person was going to try to sleep with me or whatever, and I was still going to be able to hold them to the car stuff. So anyway, so I met my share of like kind of, you know, older white guys that I don't know, I guess it is like something out of Monster Ball. You remember that movie with Halle Berry and Make Me Feel Good and all that stuff? Like, I won't lie, it is really kind of like that. At least my experience, you know, in the South or whatever, right? There would be old guys acting racist AF on the outside, and then as soon as you're alone with these guys, they are on it. And listen, if you're a racist watching this for whatever bizarre reason, you know, studying up on the enemy or whatever, I am not for a long shot saying that, you know, oh, racist white guys dig this prototype. I'm saying that, you know, though for whatever reason, I over the years have attracted and like a noticeable number of men who are normally racist in their life, and then for whatever reason we got along, or we got along, or they wanted to pursue some kind of romantic, and we'll call it an endeavor because I'm not sure it was a relationship. You know, a great story that I had that happened. I moved out to some farm country in the middle of nowhere. Right, small town, population 500. Well, I'm being obnoxious, but it's a small town is the point. Right, mainly white people. Nothing against that. That it was an old town, and this is who was living there, and that's just who was living there. So whatever, it's farm country. We're working with these horses, whatever. Yes, I really have a background in horses. So we were, you know, I just decided to take some time, you know, kind of Batman style, remove myself from the major city life, and was kind of failing miserably at some business plans, and so a whole bunch of things had gone wrong, and I decided to go back east and get my crap together and do my best to figure out what I wanted to do. But obviously, you know, life and bills and obligations and debts don't go into suspended animation with you. So I ended up, you know, getting a job at a horse farm and all that kind of good stuff based on my experience with horses. So that was all doing what it does. I was happy to be in a place where nobody knew my name. And but of course, it ended up dredging up old memories of when I was stationed in the South, because although we weren't in a technically southern state, this was still like some kind of small-minded, you know, people haven't been anywhere, haven't done anything. Yeah, it's 2018 and they have the internet, but that mentality has gone back generations. And, you know, so I met my share of people that were, you know, clearly low-key racist, of Confederate flags showing back up on people's cars and stuff like that, or people with bumper stickers that said, you know, build the wall and lock her up, and I don't know, sacrifice a baby, however it works. And, you know, so, I mean, I had seen it before, so it wasn't like I wasn't freaking out per se. But for example, I was staying on a farm. I needed to, everything is like 2 miles away from whoever or whatever. So it's not like the city where You know, if you were ever bitching about a couple of blocks, imagine, you know, a couple country miles before you get to the general store or whatever they're going to call it. So, you know, and there were like, there was more than one incident that happened while I was staying in this small town. Just doing my thing. I'm there as a solo rider, just there to stack money and basically like live on a farm and just keep my nose to the ground until I can figure out what I want to do, and and be able to at least make money to get somewhere. So that was my whole reason for working there, and it was just kind of nice to have really straightforward work. I mean, the work for a farm is the same. I mean, it varies season to season. There's different tasks based on the season, but these are horses, so it's like the same schedule, you know. And I really like animals, so you know, I was getting to work with the horses and blah 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 blah. So anyway, one incident was I was walking to the edge of the property, which goes out to the country road, and I had a large farm knife with me. I won't lie, as both as protection and because we had like some crazy stuff to kind of hack out on the edge of the property. So I had this farm knife with me. I got it in my mind that I wanted to make the pilgrimage to the country store. I didn't have a car on the farm. Like, I had access to cars if I needed to do something, but you know, whatever, would like borrow a car from somebody else. But I didn't have my own car while I was staying there because I didn't know how long I was going to stay there. So and also money. So so I decided, you know what, it's a couple miles away. I need to get off the farm for a bit. I'm gonna go. So I decided, you know, I was already out on the edge of the road. I'm gonna start making my way there. So I had this farm knife with me, and I said, you know what, I'm gonna keep it with me because, right, I mean, I was stationed in the South before, and with everything going on in today's times, I basically, right, I don't trust guys anywhere out on a deserted, I should say, an isolated country road where I don't know if this is gonna pop off into some Fargo shit, that stuff or whatever. So, I start making my way down the road, and I end up going down the wrong road. And you kind of don't find out until you get like way deep down the road, because there's nothing, because there's like, everybody has acres and acres of land. You know, I'm not hating, I'm just saying, like, since I didn't have a car, it was going to be a while before I figured out I was going the wrong way on this long isolated road. So I ended up walking out onto this other major horse farm, and I realized it was the wrong road. So I was like, oh crap. So I turn around, and it crossed my mind, like, oh god, am I gonna look suspicious because I was walking and then I stopped, and there's like one farmhouse and there's a barn further up, but it's not like there's a bunch of homes around, but still, people don't have anything better to look at because it's a small town. And here I am, like, kind of sticking out a little bit because, you know, more than one reason. So I'm like, well, I have to turn around. I mean, I can't just like freeze and wait to explain something to somebody as though I'm already guilty, when all I did was go the wrong way. So I turn around. I'm like looking at my GPS because I don't really know where anything is, and I'm walking, and I'm walking on, and then I see some kind of car come up the road that I had gone down mistakenly. And I, you know, right, I kind of held my breath because it was like, oh no, did they see me wander down? Because I think it's private property. Either way, it's not the road I needed. So, you know, I hope it's not like a thing. So I keep walking. I finally figure out which way I need to go, and I start walking that way. I'm walking down, and all of a sudden I hear this bullhorn behind me, and it's like, ma'am, drop the knife and stop. What? I turn around, and it was like, it must, and I'm not exaggerating when I tell you, there were at least that whole township's police force, and it looked like they had even gotten some state line. You know, I saw some state trooper SUVs. There were at least 3 or 4 of those, like at least 7 or 8 regular cop cruiser. They brought their narcotics undercover division officer. the plainclothes narc, they got one for the whole town, and he comes out looking like some kind of Men in Black extra, like he's too cool for school, and you know, he comes out in his plainclothes, and they stop me and they tell me they see my knife, so they tell me to drop that. I throw it to the side on the grass. I'm out on the side of the road, so there's grass and a fence and farm. It's farm everywhere. So I throw the knife to the side, and they have me do the back up with your take 10 paces back and spin around 3 times and put your nose and clap their hands and do the Macarena, whatever. And they end up putting handcuffs on me. I've been tear gassed. I've been in some really ugly situations. I've been sexually assaulted. You know, I've been attacked. Like bad. My point is that bad things have happened to me, but I had never been handcuffed. Not even on some kinky stuff, which I wouldn't. I'm not trying to sound like a prude, and it shouldn't matter. But right, like it's not. I'm not into handcuffing myself or being handcuffed or bound in any way, shape, or form. I'm not against people who like it. I'm not against, you know, any of that. I'm just saying that for me, I'm not into it. So I'm already like, you know, because it's like you got at least 30. I'm not exaggerating when I tell you at least 30 cops with tasers and guns, as far as I can tell, drawn from their cruisers, which is about maybe like 15, 20 feet behind me, until they had me walk back and handcuff me and turn me around. So now I've got like 3 officers questioning me, and I'm like, I don't know who any of you are, but you know, yeah, I pulled the veteran card. I was like, I'm a veteran. You know, I'm educated, and I really want to know what our business is here. Like, I'm trying to stay calm. So they're like, oh, we got a report. Somebody called in and said that there was a woman walking with a knife, and it just looked very suspicious, and that, you know, you had gone down the road and kind of turned around, and blah blah blah. And I'm like, I live on this farm just further up the road. I went to walk to the store, and I had my farm knife with me. This is all farms, right? Yes. Okay, so I had a farm knife with me, and I'm here outside by myself. I was like hacking at some weeds and stuff on the edge, and I just decided to take it with me. Oh, well, you don't need to have that knife out here. I said, with all, you know, with whatever respect might be due, if one of these civilian males, I said, you got trucks coming up and down here, you got farm workers, men on their own time. I said, if one of them pulls to the side of the road and decides to mess with me, you're not going to hear my screams out here for miles. Miles. And then that's when everybody got all quiet, and they're making circles in the dirt with their shoe and looking down, and oh, well, you know, I said, in today's times, you know, I'm not sure if the way this conversation is going is a good idea. And they're like, let's go ahead and get her, let's go ahead and take the handcuffs off her, please. And then that's when the plainclothes narc walks up with his sunglasses on, you know, like high and tight haircut, you know, too cool for school, you know, chip on the shoulder. I'm like, okay, well, oh, don't. So, like, there's clearly like a heroin epidemic out here. I don't know if it's like a combination of, you know, well, I was about to say something rude that might be offensive, but, you know, the point is that, like, you know, you got people running around here looking half deranged and crazed with teeth rotten out of their head, you know, clearly addicts and other problems, and you're the narc, it's clear, but you came all the way out here to check on this girl, or out on some backcountry road. Interesting. I said, I don't know who this officer is in plain clothes. He hasn't announced himself if he's going to stand over here. And that's when he pull back his jacket, like really Miami CIS style, like just show me the badge, and he's the narcotics officer, yippity yap. And I said, so you needed half the 3/4, if not the whole cavalry back here with your guns and tasers drawn, put me in handcuffs, and bring out the narcotics officer for what? Oh, well, we didn't know what we were dealing with, and maybe you were going to try to hurt yourself, and like just whatever stuff, like I never seen somebody both backpedal and cover their butt at the same time. Wow, you're talented to somebody out here. So I said, look, listen, this is just a big misunderstanding. Obviously, you have reacted with already excessive force that could be applied to the real crime going on in your town, which is what you're arguing to me is why you are responding with this level of force. I said, if I hadn't heard you, or I wasn't in my right mind, or whatever you're saying could have been going on, and I hadn't dropped the knife, they wouldn't even recognize my body anymore for how much crap you had drawn on me. Like, just because somebody called in and said they saw somebody walking down the road with a farm knife. Please stop it. Oh, we're really, we apologize. It's just, we were just checking into it. And I said, and look at how you handled it. Like, I'm glad you didn't use any more, like any excessive force, but wow, this is like just poor community relations. Like, I mean, I'm not trying to sound too consumerist and say like, what's up with the police customer service? I'm saying, right, you're trying to play it off like you were caring about making sure I was okay, but the way you responded, like how 30 people, how many of you were going to restrain me? Like, who did you think I was? And I'm being compliant. And when you pulled up and I heard you say, man, drop it, I threw it to the side. I did what you asked. I'm clearly sane. Like, as far as discussing this with you, I'm discussing it like as calm as I can be. I'm discussing it like a calmly agitated person, and I'm letting you know who I am. And I had ID on me, thank goodness, because I was just out on the farmland. I mean, why should I have to worry about having an ID? Oh yeah, because I was going to the store. So anyway, so right, he's like, oh, him, haw, and then the one guy is like, I don't know why you have an attitude, nobody hurt you. I said, because you pulled up on me, handcuffed me. I said, it's almost kind of degrading for somebody that's just looking into something. I said, all on the whim of a scared caller. You were willing to train 30 different cops on me, guns, tasers, handcuff me. I had to talk myself out of your grip, which I shouldn't have had to do, minding my business, wandering down the street. Road. So anyway, right, like finally, like of course, like I don't know how many cop interactions you've had, but excuse me, sexy. I don't know how many cop interactions you've had, but whenever they don't have anything on me, I should say me, whenever they have pulled me over or stopped me or whatever, like under some kind of suspicion, and then that's not what it is, they are disappointed. So this whole gang of cops, I guess they all thought, I don't know, you get a medal or a parade or a hoagie. I don't know what happens when you riddle a random pedestrian with bullets for suspicion of a knife. I don't know what happens, but they were all there, and you could tell like they wished it had been so much more. Here it's just this random brown girl trying to migrate to the store. Walking while brown. It's like, okay, damn. She didn't have anything. She's not crazy. There's not even any blood on her knife. I was gonna get a medal for this. Right? Like, I don't know what happens, like why they were so hyped. but it's like it seemed like they were so disappointed to find out it wasn't anything but, you know, a really entitled bougie brown girl with an attitude, you know, just articulately cursing them out. So anyway, the one guy, I shouldn't say guy, the one officer was kind enough to give me a ride to where I was going. You know, kind of guilted him into it. Well, guilt is voluntary. Like, I can't make you feel guilty, but he bought into the guilt of wasting my time and you know, kind of being right with the whole degrading issue. To me, it was degrading to have me like backed up in handcuffs and you was standing around me interrogating me without cause, really, like suspicion of knife, but you didn't. It's not like you pulled up and said, hey, you know, are you okay? Like if I would, okay, it was the same looking road like in Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I'm not trying to be dramatic, but I'm saying it's that style of town, of country road. I'm not saying, well, maybe they're I don't know if it gets that crazy if they got some guy in the basement with other people's skin on his face, but like that kind of road. So if you saw me wandering down the road like that, like in the remake when the girl was wandering down the road in the beginning, I was walking down the road the same way. I mean, well, I wasn't gutted there, but I mean, like, if you were so concerned, right, like the way that girl what in the movie was like all messed up, but if you drove by, you would have concern, hopefully. But right, like you didn't pull up like that all concerned. Not, I mean, I wasn't covered in blood, but if you got a distress call, you know, saying, oh, some random girl I don't know has a farm knife, do something about it, and you were willing to act on that, like you trying to say it's concern, but you weren't, you were concerned for who? Not me. Concerned like hoping I don't have rabies or I'm a zombie or something. I don't know. I don't know what to do. I don't know. So anyway, so there was that. That was like the first couple of weeks I got into that town. And I was like, oh my god, this is gonna be fun. Like I can't get it. I'm you know, I can't go in. I don't feel like I should go anywhere on my own. Just not because I can't defend myself, but because I don't think, even if I had, you know, unfortunately with that town mentality, maybe if I had to defend myself, the town wouldn't be on my side, you know, in the aftermath, whether I was guilty or not, you know, like I couldn't put that past the local culture. So excuse me, believe it, there's more to this. So I'm working at this horse farm, and you know, it's everyone is just kind of, I'm just gonna call it local minded, and you know that's not new to me. So I wasn't there to like make waves, because I kind of do that whether I'm trying to or not. So I was really just there to do the work. I got assigned a barn. I was happy to take care of my horses in my barn and do what I had to do for that. So, you know, but people become curious because I was like one of the only brown people there, brown American girls, because they had a couple of Latinas working there. But, you know, I was the only one of my, whatever this is. I was the only one. There only needs to be one. So, I was just really happy to do my thing at this remote barn because they gave me one of the shittiest, sorry, trying not to curse on this video. They gave me one of the less than favored barns, you know, as far as like newness and who wanted to work there, and it had clearly been neglected because people didn't like working that barn and blah, blah, blah. I didn't care. I was just happy to be alone in there and be able to mind my business and do my thing, because that's just the kind of way that I like to do. So I was cool. You know, the work is not easy physically, but it's straightforward. Every day, you know, whatever. Doing my thing, but these are small towners. Now, I've lived in mostly major cities, so for me, this is new as far as like just living the country life consistently, like full time. I was just kind of enjoying that. So the fact that I didn't have a social life didn't really bother me, because I already was coming from that. This was kind of a break from that, really, for me. So, but these people are bored, and, or I should say, just they confine themselves to this small town, and again, this mentality of working together, living together, drinking together, sleeping together, fighting together, just, you know, this small little bubble. And this was like a really large horse farm, so like they had country homes like on the estate and different things. It was really cool, like the concept of it. But the people there were miserable and like overall impression. I'm not saying that they don't have happy times in their lives, but they seem to be miserable mostly about stuff, or they seem to bond over complaining. I should say that. So I wasn't really trying to get into that. I just really wanted to say to myself, but the thing about that is a lot of people have taken that as standoffishness or thinking that I'm better than people. And then on top of it, you know, I was educated. A lot of them seem to have never been anywhere. Like and I'm not saying education is though it's an exceptional thing. I'm saying that this town maybe didn't necessarily put emphasis on how intellectual you could be, and that wasn't like a norm compared to Philadelphia or, you know, LA or whatever. So small town values and minds and whatever. That, hey, free to be. You know what? Because I'm just doing this temporarily. So, you know, who am I? Like if you want to embrace that suffering as your norm, do you, but just stay over there. And that's what happened. Everyone was afraid of me because, again, it's a small town. So it wasn't long before people called me like knife girl, because they just, right, like that was exciting for them. That was interesting. I was using it for protection. Some of them were afraid of me at that point, because just based on gossip, a small town gossip, like it is very much like that. I called it a petri dish all the time. So, you know, I was really getting a kick of all the stories. Like, they were hyping it and changing the story into these really exaggerated versions. Like, one where I chased somebody, and one where I fought the police. Like, all different crazy stuff that it wasn't true. But I wasn't worried about proving it wasn't, because I knew if you talk to me that you would not be inclined to believe this story. That whatever crazy version of it they told. But it was kind of protecting me, because I didn't really want to talk to anyone. Not because I assumed they were racist, but because I wasn't there to be part of whatever they were doing. Was cool for them, but I was really just trying to work and get my thoughts together to go wherever I was really gonna go in life. So so I'm working whatever, and there was one of the guys there, and he's kind of, you know, he's older. He's an old soul white guy. How old was he? He was like 50 or something along those lines. And so he's older, and he's like a rural country man, and can't even say country boy, because he was that like really just country. And you know, he just is stuck in his ways. He is a huntsman and could really go with horses, and knew about the land and this kind of stuff, and self-sustainable living. You know, for him it's culture. It was, you know, not trendy. He wasn't like some businessman that grew a beard and a man bun and went out to Oregon, even though I want to live in Oregon. But, you know, like, you know, you get what I'm saying, that for him it's generational. You know, his great granddaddy was doing the same thing that he's doing now. So all that stuff is in his blood, you know, like, just, right, you go to his house, it's like more gun than roll left. You know, he's just really into that or whatever. So he's country, and you'll, again, like, just like the military guy I was telling you, you know, he got a couple of jokes with the boys, or saying something kind of small-minded sounding, but you know, he was really sweet on your girl. So again, you know, I mean, it's not like he was burning crosses when we weren't having lunch. It wasn't that deep, but you know, he grew up in a place where that is the norm of, like, well, being racist. To me living there is like, being racist was the norm. Like, that wasn't so, because since everybody there is white, it's not like it creates friction. They know you don't like anyone who's not white, but since everybody there is white, you're chilling. So they're like, oh, well, he's not acting out, so it's whatever. Excuse me, sir. Sorry. So Right, like this is a real hillbilly town, and they kind of just